Hey everybody! When I was working as a flight attendant with Emirates, one of the things that I was always looking forward to was customer interaction. And through the years that I worked with Emirates, I was able to gather some lessons from what Emirates taught me, from the leaders who led the team, from the customers that I interacted with, and also from the crew who I worked with. And today I will be sharing those tips, and hopefully whatever career you might be in or career you plan to take in the near future, that you will find some of these tips useful as you go along. Before anything else, let me just say that whatever I am sharing with you are my own views, my opinions, and it does not in any way represent the views of Emirates. So, let's get started. Emirates has always been in the top 5 of the best airlines in the world. In several occasions, Emirates was number 1, and to have been part of the company once upon a time, I can really say that Emirates makes sure that excellent service is delivered by its cabin crew. Emirates trained me when I was 21 and I left when I was 34 years old. If I think about Emirates and then customer service, there are 2 statements that would immediately pop up. These statements are also in line with my principles and values in life. When it comes to customer service, Emirates would always say, make someone's day. Emirates really encourages its crew to go out of their way, to think out of the box, to make someone's day. Emirates gives you the freedom to do whatever it is that you feel is right for the customer. And of course, taking into consideration some limitations. Making someone's day through little things. As an example, a mother is traveling alone with her baby and she has all the stuff with her. She boards the plane, you see her trying to carry all those bags. So you approach the mother and you help her with the bags and put them in the hat rack. And come middle of the flight, you see that finally the baby's asleep and you can see that she's really just exhausted. So this would be a great opportunity for me, for example, to go and visit the mother and say, how is everything with you? Do you need anything? Have you eaten already? While the baby's asleep, do you want me to make a hot beverage for you? Or perhaps you need some baby items that are in the hat rack. Do you want me to get some items for you? So little things such as this that would make your customers experience a little bit better. Picture this, you're walking in the cabin, it's a night flight, so the lights are off and everyone's sleeping. And you notice someone has fallen asleep while watching a movie, and you notice that it's cold in the cabin. It's a nice gesture to stop, maybe look for a blanket nearby or get a blanket and then unpack it and cover the customer before you go on to whatever task you were doing before that. Little things as this, you can make someone's day, and again, it doesn't have to be grand. The second statement that I very well remember also is beyond expectations. Emirates likes to deliver more than what is expected, and it encourages the crew to do that. Emirates also encourages you to be spontaneous. As an example, you could be talking to a customer and later on you find out that the customer is actually celebrating her 56th birthday. There are no ready-made birthday cakes on board, so you figured making a birthday cake out of a dessert, melting chocolates into liquid ones so you could write the words happy 56th birthday. Imagine the joy of the customer. This is something she didn't expect, so basically you have gone beyond expectations. So this is something that Emirates does not tell you do this, but if you do it, Emirates really appreciates it. So those are 2 statements that when I hear the words customer service, I would fondly remember Emirates. There are 5 customer service tips that I will be sharing to you, and these are tips that I have chosen to bring and carry with me as I live my day-to-day life. The first one would be smile. Smile might be the most basic, but I believe it is the most important. As they say, everyone smiles in the same language. There are hundreds of languages around the world, but a smile speaks them all. It's great to have a genuine smile because ultimately you create that good first impression, and you can only make that first impression once. When you board customers, for example, and you have 400 customers, it would be too impossible to interact with them one by one. So the least thing that you could do is really give them a smile. And I tell you, a smile goes a long way, especially when you run out of beef for example, 40,000 feet above the ground, that smile that you gave 30 minutes earlier might just save you. And I say this because it has saved me. Number 2 would be genuinely ask how they are. Sometimes we do a thing and it becomes routinary that we just run simply on autopilot mode. During my first few years of flying, I would board customers, I would greet them, and most of the time I would ask them how they are. It has gotten to a point, I don't know if you have also experienced that, where I would ask them how they are and I wouldn't really be mindful of their answer. So I would just say, how are you, for the sake of saying, how are you? I realized that I was doing that when I myself became a passenger, and I went on board and this crew asked me, how are you? And I said, good, thank you very much. I said those while looking at the crew, and I noticed that she wasn't looking at me. She was already busy boarding the next passenger. So I said to myself, I wouldn't want my customers to feel hanging. So I made a conscious effort that if ever I greet a customer, I make sure that at least I engage for a little bit. And I will make sure that that time is worthwhile. Say as an example, I'm in the cabin boarding customers and a passenger is approaching me. I would then initiate a short conversation saying, hey, welcome aboard. How are you? So this time I would make sure that I look into the eyes of the customer while waiting for the customer's reply. Things like this, small conversations. Well, sometimes I won't really have the luxury of time to engage to as many customers as I would want to. What I want to highlight here is when I engage with a customer and I ask a customer a question, I really make sure that I acknowledge their answer to make them feel that I'm present. And also the reason why I like to make eye-to-eye contact, because as they say, the eyes are the windows of the soul. By looking at someone's eyes, you would know if that person is tired or sad or sleepy, exhausted, frustrated. Number 3 would be don't promise but over-deliver. I like seeing my customers happy, and especially those moments when I see their eyes light up because I know I have exceeded their expectations. It's better if you under-promise but you over-deliver. I have witnessed this clearly happening, especially during short flights when customers want to ask something and the crew would say, sure, I will give that to you, and the crew forgot to give it. So that's something I want to avoid because I don't also want to experience that if I'm the customer. So I really try to under-promise. What I would usually do when a customer asks me something, a favor that is usually beyond what we usually give in the service, or maybe a customer has a request, and if I cannot resolve their issue or provide exactly what it is that they want, then I still make sure that I come back and I provide an alternative for them. Say for example, a customer told me that it's cold in the cabin and if it's possible to increase the temperature, meaning to make it warmer. What I would do first is acknowledge what the customer said. I would say, it does get cold in the cabin. Now let me see what I can do about adjusting the temperature. But for the meantime, I am giving you some blankets and also some extra socks to keep you warm. I will get back to you. If my senior says, yes, we can adjust the temperature, I would do so and I would go back to the customer. Or if upon assessment we see that actually everyone's feeling warm already and that customer is the only one who's actually feeling cold, then what I would do is go back to the customer and I would say adjusting the temperature is not possible for now, but I have brought with me some extra blankets to keep you warmer. And also before I go, do you want some hot beverages? Do you want some tea or coffee to help you keep warm? Having said that, every now and then I would go check the passenger to see if he or she is feeling better. Number 4 would be get back to them when you say you will. I don't know if you're like me, but I will really remember if, say for example, I'm in a bank or in a supermarket or in a department store, I approach a staff, I ask for something, and say for example that staff would say, okay, give me a moment, I'll come back to you, and they don't. I will remember that, and it is an uncomfortable feeling. I get frustrated. I don't like that feeling. That's why I make sure that with my customers, I don't let them feel that way. So every time I interact with a customer, I am very mindful of the words that I say. If I say, I will come back in 15 minutes to cater your needs, I will really make sure that on the dot, I'm back. But say for example, I would need more than 15 minutes to cater for the need, still I will go back to the customer and say, "Sir, I told you I will be coming back in 15 minutes. As of now, I'm still on the process of catering that issue and it hasn't been resolved yet. So once I do, again, I will get back to you." And I really make sure that I do. In my experience, it has worked out so well. Doing this and making this as a habit makes such a difference with how the customers react. It makes such a difference when you really are on time. Whether the issue has been resolved or not, you must go to the customer, you must update the customer, because who would want to be lost in the picture, right? So again, we go back to communication. A customer just really wants to know an update, and once you give that update, that already comforts them. So having said that, I make sure that I have a reliable watch, and I make sure that my watch is in sync with his watch also. So say for example, a customer's TV screen is not working. I would tell the customer it would take 15 minutes for the system to reboot, so I'll come back after 15 minutes. The time in my watch is 2:30, I will be coming back at 2:45. At least he can also look at his watch and it could be 11:30 in his time zone, and he knows that at 11:45 I'm coming back. And number two, for me to remember, I make sure I write it down in a notepad just to really make sure that no detail gets missed. Number 5, and my last, would be to handle complaints with grace. I will always remember what our seniors would tell us during pre-fight briefing, that sometimes they are complaining simply because you are wearing the uniform and they believe that you're the right person to talk to, and it's not really about you. I would remember seniors reminding us and telling us to not take things personally. When a customer complains to me, the first thing that I do is listen. Second thing would be to acknowledge. Acknowledge what the customer is feeling. And depending on the situation, I offer a solution. I say this because most of the time, well, based on my experience, people just really want to vent and they need someone to listen. So listening, acknowledging, and having solutions as an option have really worked for me. As an example, there was a time when we were delayed on ground because of a technical issue. 4 hours has already passed and we were still on ground. And the engineers and the flight deck crew were still figuring out what the problem was with the aircraft. And this customer approached me. He said that he wants to have a complaint form. He said that it was unacceptable that we have already been delayed for 4 hours. He needs to arrive in the destination. And while he was saying all those, I just really made sure that I was there to listen, eye-to-eye contact. I nodded and I acknowledged whatever it is that he said. And eventually, I started to engage in a conversation with him. I started to ask more open questions. What are you going to do in the destination? It must be an important event. And then I found out that actually the reason why he wanted to go to that country is because his mother was ill and he wanted to be there. And then it made sense. I said to him that with my experience, what I know, that as soon as the captain knows what's happening, we would know it from him through an announcement. As he was venting out, as he was opening up, I started to notice that he was actually feeling better and that he was getting calmer and calmer. Story short, our interaction ended without him asking for a complaint form in the end, because eventually he understood. And I think sometimes people just need somebody to listen. So there you have it. When you genuinely care about your customers, it radiates and your customers will feel it. I hope you found this video meaningful. You could be an aspiring flight attendant or someone who deals with clients every day. I wish you great experiences, and like always, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you again next time.